Born on the French-conquered island of Corsica on August 15, 1769, Napoleon di Buonaparte, later changed to Napoleon Bonaparte to appear more French, was arguably one of the greatest military leaders of all time. Napoleon chose a military career at the age of 9, and by 16 had begun to make his mark in the French military. Napoleon would go on to become a general in the French Revolution, Emperor of France by 1804, and the King of Italy later that same year. Within 10 years as a military leader, Napoleon fought and gained control of most of Western and Central Europe, either by force or by forming alliances. Napoleon was certainly a great military strategist, but it is his defeat at Waterloo that will go down in history. This 1815 battle involved some 73,000 French battling against a combined army of British, Russian, Austrian, and Prussian soldiers. In the end, Napoleon was forced to surrender. 25,000 troops died, as did Napoleon's career. It is both widely and falsely believed that Napoleon was unusually short and that his efficiency, brutality, and ruthlessness in war were to make up for this physical shortcoming. Although Napoleon might have been a ruthless conqueror, it wasn't to overcompensate for his lack of height. At 5 feet 6 inches, Napoleon was of average height in his day. This incorrect belief came about because French measurement made him 4 inches shorter at the time. This myth, however, led to the coining of the psychological term Napoleon complex. Those who suffer from this complex have a real or believed handicap. To make up for this, they try to be tougher and better than other people in various areas of their lives. The long and short of it is that as a military leader, Napoleon would go to any lengths to reach the height of military
A surfer's
complex.
lifelong goal is to ride the perfect wave, and in the ocean, bigger is better. Greg Noll, nicknamed the Bull for his love of charging headfirst into the surf, rode his first 30-foot wave in 1969, a record that wasn't broken for more than 20 years. The reason it held up so long was that to catch a big wave, the surfer has to be paddling as fast as the wave to drop in from the top of it. 3 big wave surfers obliterated record books in the mid-90s when they invented toe-in surfing. Rather than paddling into the waves, these surfers would work in pairs as one person driving a jet ski pulls the surfer into the wave. The surfer would then let go of the rope and ride into the face of 50 to 60-foot waves. The jet ski was also used as a rescue vehicle in case the surfer wiped out. At first, toe-in surfing was looked down upon. Critics argued that the jet skis were loud and polluted the environment. But the lure of these monstrous waves was too strong. Toe-in surfing caught on and has been the biggest development in surfing since the invention of shortboards. Nowadays, surfers are even towed into waves by helicopters, and the number of people who have ridden waves bigger than buildings is in the hundreds. The promise of big prizes and instant fame lures people into the water to do things that were inconceivable only a Practically decade every ago. kid loves junk food. However, with childhood obesity on the rise worldwide, concerned parents are eager to end this affair. To accomplish this goal, parents and educators are sparing no effort. Here in Taiwan, snacks and beverages over 250 calories cannot be sold in stores in elementary and junior high schools. This measure was introduced as the waistlines of Taiwanese students have expanded to unprecedented proportions. The Sunshine Student Program, promoted by the Education Department since 2005, hopes that students will put down junk food and pick up healthier habits and food choices. With this new legislation firmly in place, the Education Department hopes students will win the battle of the bulge. These efforts will hopefully keep Taiwanese students from going the way of their Western counterparts. In the United States, obesity among children has doubled in the last 30 years, forcing boards of education around the country to reconsider nutrition options available at schools. Similar programs have been implemented in schools throughout Europe. Most notable is the school dinner program in England. In addition to monitoring vending machine contents, school kitchens will set a certain standard of meat quality and raise the budget for primary school meals. Last year, some 8,000 vending machines were pulled out of French schools to help combat obesity. In Germany, kiosks or stands located near schools are not allowed to sell candy or soft drinks. Many wonder if these programs will make a difference, or if enforcing good nutrition and dietary habits must come from the parents themselves. Either way, only time and waste. While many people believe that feng shui can work wonders to attract prosperity to a home or a business, it may also bring love into a person's life. In big cities, finding that special someone is becoming increasingly difficult, even though the number of singles looking for love is on the rise. As a way to combat the odds of staying single forever, many lonely hearts are turning to the age-old practice of feng shui. The principles behind using feng shui to enhance one's romantic appeal are similar to those of attracting good things in other areas of your life. One of the easiest and most readily used methods to stir up positive romantic energy is the use of fresh flowers. Not just any fresh flowers will do the trick, but ones selected with you specifically in mind. The flowers used should be placed in water and must be the same color as the wide-necked vase they are held in. The colors of the flowers and vase used are determined by consulting a feng shui chart. The chart will also tell you where the flowers should be placed within your home. People that have used this method swear by its effectiveness, and romance generally follows within a short period of time. According to feng shui, the far right corner of any room is where a great deal of attention must be paid. This area should be clutter-free and utilize the colors pink, white, and red to attract positive romantic energy. There are hundreds of other ways to bring love into your life, some traditional, and others a bit out of the ordinary. Whatever method you use, an open mind and an eager heart will go a long way toward helping you find the love. An up-and-coming director went to the company that sells M&Ms and asked if they wanted to give him some money for their candy to be placed in a film he was making. The company scoffed at the idea and told Steven Spielberg that his alien in E.T. the Extraterrestrial was too scary for kids. Spielberg then went to another candy company, worked out a deal, and placed their product in the film. 1 week after the film's release, sales of Reese's Pieces, a candy-coated peanut butter version of M&Ms, went through the roof. Product placement is the inclusion of real-world products in fictional films, books, TV shows, and video games. This practice has been going on since the 1950s. Advertisers now know that most people channel surf during commercials because they're fed up with ads coming at them from every direction. Therefore, advertising companies are trying a variety of ways to seamlessly fit their products into everyday life. In certain shows, marketers have raised the ante. Instead of just showing a product in the background or the foreground, they now are incorporating it into the storyline. This is called product integration. Watchdog groups worry that this crosses ethical lines because the viewer is not informed of these placements. In other words, they have no idea they're being sold something. Ivy League Analytical English, the best English magazine on the market, inspired by the Italians and brought to Taiwan by the Japanese in 1981, tracing a river to its source is the greatest way to experience Taiwan's deep mountain scenery. Developed by early mountaineers, river tracing was an adventurous way to travel across uncompromising land. River tracing involves tracking a river upstream and negotiating everything in your path. Waterfalls, boulders, steep cliffs, and dreaded 100-pacer snakes, so called because that's as far as you will get if bitten, may all stand in your way. But if you have the right equipment and an iron will, you are sure to have an adventure that you'll never forget. To prepare for a river tracing adventure, specialized equipment and clothing are required. First, and most importantly, Adventure seekers must have a pair of rubber boots that can grip wet rock. Second, they need shin guards to protect against scratches and things that bite. And finally, a helmet and a harness round out the essentials. Clothing should stick to the skin and allow water to pass through. A wetsuit should do the trick. River tracing is going to the source of the water, which involves going upstream, not down. The majority of the time is spent rock climbing, but occasionally you also need to rappel down waterfalls. Rappelling involves sliding down a rope with a harness and a device that you control by allowing the rope to slip through it. With over 200 rivers in Taiwan, there are endless possibilities for river tracing trips. From half-day routes to 2-week adventures, there's a river near you that's just waiting to be traced. When people would ask Jean Calment, the world's oldest person before she died at the age of 122, what her secret was, she would calmly reply with a simple sentence, "I am never bored." Calment walked like she talked. She smoked and rode a bike until she was 100, had an affinity for wine, and even released a rap CD when she was 120 years old. Scientists have long been trying to unravel the secrets to longevity. They know that a long life begins with good genetics and depends on good habits. With advances in medicine, healthcare, and nutrition, the average life expectancy has increased from 47 to 77 years over the last century. Researchers now believe that half of the people born and raised in America or Japan in the year 2000 or later will live to be 90. There are now many different ways to increase a person's life expectancy. The first is shaping up. Eating healthy foods and losing those extra pounds can ease the strain on a person's heart and lower the risk of a heart attack, diabetes, or cancer. In addition, keeping the brain stimulated, plus socializing with family and friends, may keep Alzheimer's and other age-related diseases of the brain at bay. Reducing stress, sleeping regularly, and visiting a doctor periodically may also help extend one's life. The most important thing to remember is to live each day as if it were your last. Zeus surrounded himself with beautiful nymphs when he came down to earth. His wife, Hera, a goddess, was the jealous type, so she always tried to catch him in the act of being unfaithful. Whenever Hera would unexpectedly show up on Earth, Echo, a talkative nymph, chatted with her as a diversion so the other nymphs could get away. Hera finally caught on and shouted at Echo, "You have made a fool of me. Now you will only have the last word." From that day forth, Echo could only repeat the last words of what other people said. One day, Echo saw Narcissus, the most handsome boy she'd ever seen, strolling through the woods. Echo immediately fell head over heels in love with him. The problem was that Narcissus was immune to love. Echo followed him from a distance until he heard her footsteps and turned around. Echo hid behind a tree and Narcissus asked, "Who is there? Come to me." All Echo could do was repeat his last words, "Come to me." Finally, she stepped out and tried to embrace Narcissus. "Leave me alone," he said as he pushed her away. While out one afternoon, Narcissus became thirsty and began drinking from a crystal-clear pond. Looking down at the glassy surface of the water, he saw the beauty of his own reflection staring back at him. Spellbound, Narcissus reached down into the water and touched this person, but only felt the wet water. "Oh no! I am in love with my own reflection," he cried. Day after day, the narcissistic Narcissus stared into the water until he finally died of heartache over himself. Echo was so distraught over the death of Narcissus that she too soon passed away. All that was left was her echoing voice in the mountains, repeating the last words that the free online encyclopedia. The Oars are a fictional race of beings that are portrayed on the sci-fi computer game Star Control. However, Oars means something entirely different to an increasing number of people in Asia. senior high school students in Taiwan even discovered Martian words like ORS and 3Q on this year's university entrance examination. They are called Martian words because they are not borrowed from any language on Earth. One such word is ORS, which has gained quite a lot of attention in Japan, China, and now Taiwan. If you are net savvy, then you already know that 3Q, pronounced in Chinese as 3Q, means thank you, and that ORS, which is pronounced ORZ, is a pictogram that is used to show despair or to represent a failed attempt at something. The pictogram is meant to resemble a stick figure on his hands, the R is his arms and back, and knees, the Z, with his head, the O, bowed in anguish. First coming on the scene in Japan late in 2004, it has now become an icon of sorts and can be seen in blogs, as website addresses, on products, in comics, as company logos, and even on road signs throughout the country. OTZ, which is most commonly used as the capitalized version of ORS, beat out such alternative forms of the pictogram as OTL, STO, and JTO. As an 8-year-old boy working in his parents' restaurant, Jamie Oliver was fascinated by cooking. This love led him to drop out of school at 16 to pursue his dream of becoming a world-renowned chef. Soon after Jamie began working for some of the classiest restaurants in London, several TV companies became smitten by his nonchalant and charming style. On his first TV show, The Naked Chef, Jamie stripped down food to its bare necessities, simple ingredients, and a makeshift kitchen. This show featured Jamie hopping around London's food markets on his motorbike and casually preparing food for his best mates. 3 years ago, Jamie decided to combine his love for food and his desire to help the needy and opened a restaurant called 15. His idea was to employ 15 underprivileged youngsters and teach them the tricks of the trade. He could relate to kids that weren't interested in school and sought to direct their energy towards something meaningful. 37 of his students have since gone on to work in some top restaurants, and 15 is now one of the most popular spots in London. As if he weren't busy enough, Jamie recently embarked upon another community-based project, Feed Me Better. This time, his mission was to revolutionize England's terribly unhealthy school dinners. Jamie met directly with students, school cooks, and parents and convinced them to get rid of French fries and burgers and provide students with more nutritious meals. With his easygoing personality, passion for good food, and concern for his community, Jamie Oliver has set an example of what every chef should or straight. For the most part, East Asians tend to have straight hair. It can be difficult to try different styles when your hair naturally doesn't have a bit of curl, but that doesn't have to be the case. Nowadays, more and more people are perming their hair. In short, a perm or permanent gives curls to those who would naturally have stick-straight hair. But not all hair is suitable for perming, nor should all hair be permed the same way. Hair that is too thin or fine may become frizzy and damaged after a perm. In addition, different types of hair require different amounts of permanent solution. One might think that Asian hair is more difficult to curl, but according to hair experts, this is a myth. In reality, Asian hair is more absorbent than other types of hair. However, untrained hairdressers tend to leave perming solution in too long, unintentionally frying their customers' hair. These days, it is common to purchase at-home perm kits. That said, one has to be careful not to leave the chemicals in too long, which may lead to hair breakage and even irritation of the scalp. In fact, even sudden changes in temperature could leave one with nothing but a shiny scalp instead of curly hair. In the end, it's up to you to decide whether getting a perm is worth the risk or not.